And welcome back, folks. So, in doing all these radio shows that I've done for you folks, the intention that I've had in these shows is to just attempt to help people to see what we could achieve as a species if we put our minds to it. And I really think we can do that. I really still think that we have the opportunity to do so. I think we have a great future ahead of us if we would simply embrace it. But I do very much think we're being given an ultimatum by consciousness itself, if you will. I think that we're being given a choice between love and fear. I think we're being given a choice between which way we will choose to evolve. When I look around me at the state of the world, it's just shocking what we've allowed to happen. And I really feel sorrow and empathy for the suffering that exists in the world. I feel the pain of my brothers and sisters around the planet. I feel the pain of what's happening in Palestine. I feel the pain of CORBY, wrongly imprisoned in jail. I feel the pain of the whales. I feel the pain of the ocean. I feel the pain of the water table. But what I do with that pain is I channel it into positive empowerment. I channel it into radio shows such as this, thereby hopefully channeling that empowerment into you, the listeners of the radio broadcasts. I see all of it as opportunity for change because the problems now are so vast and so in your face that they simply cannot be ignored any longer. And certainly there are many people focusing on the problems. There are many people who are aware of the problems. But there are very few people who are focusing on the solutions to the problems because there are very few people who are aware of the real solutions to the problems. There's many people that keep attempting to work within the parameters of the system, many people who fail to see that the real answer lies within themselves. It lies within them changing their perspective of reality. And it always comes back to this, folks. I know I harp on with it, but it always comes back to this. It always comes back to who you are and the power that you have as an individual, because once you stand in that and apply that to the world around you, the world changes. I know I keep saying it, but it's what we need to do. It's where the focus needs to lie. So we can't petition the system. By petitioning the system, we're giving the system power. The system is fiction. You don't petition a ghost. You apply yourself to reality. It's just as I was saying last week, folks, what you're looking for really is self-realization. It really is. I mean, that is the greatest thing that will ever come to you. That is the greatest treasure that you can ever find within this reality, is yourself. And when you can find yourself and you can find acceptance for yourself and you can fulfill your need to be loved, allow yourself to be loved and allow yourself to love others, this is how we change the world. Self-realization and acceptance of yourself, these are the most powerful tools that you will ever find that can be used to shape your reality. And not just your reality, but reality itself. Because once you are in this energetic state, once you are projecting that into the field around you and you are walking in that and standing in your power and leading by example in all that you do, it rubs off on others. You know, here you have acceptance for yourself. You have the ultimate power of yourself. That's the thing, because we're taught to believe that we're not powerful. We're taught to believe that we need rulers, we need governance, we need people to run our lives for us because we're not competent, we're not smart, we're not powerful, we're not capable of doing it for ourselves, so we need controlling. We're taught this through our education system. We're given all these yardsticks to measure ourselves up to. Of course, we'll never make any of them because they're all fictional. And so we all judge ourselves poorly. We all judge ourselves as being inadequate. We all judge ourselves as needing to be controlled, needing to be ruled. Oh, yes, you've got to do what the government says. The government knows best. But what the government is doing is exactly the opposite of what is best for the species. And we have to get out of this mindset. We have to realize what we are and the power that we have as mankind. We can make this world anything we want once we realize who and what we are. And that's why the shows that I do, folks, have always been focused around this same message. I just want the people to wake up. Of course, many people are waking up, but there are still many people in cities who are not, and we are still seeing an incredible ramping up of the police state around us. But of course the positive in that is that is what is waking up many of the people in the cities who are still asleep. So it's always an equal and opposite reaction, folks, and I'm sure that we do achieve the desired result in the end. Now, getting back a little bit to what I was talking about earlier as far as a gift culture goes and the power of giving. I've had some incredible experiences in giving to people, folks. There's been times when I've given to people and I've instantly received things back from completely external sources. And there's a time when you just simply can't look at it as being coincidental anymore. You know, it becomes so synchronistic that you really begin to see a pattern in your actions, and you begin to see how the patterns of reality kind of work together and mesh together. And I've done this through following my intuition. When my intuition has told me to give, and I give to a certain person, I've found that there's always a much, much deeper reason why I needed to give to that person. And I find that I'm never out of pocket by giving to them. Something always happens to balance it out. And it's had a remarkable effect on the energy field and some of the people that I've come in contact with. And the synchronicities in my life, folks, they really are quite amazing. And we all have the power to do this, and we all have the power to live essentially magical lives, folks, if we simply look at reality from a different perspective and apply ourselves to reality. Start reading the energy fields around us, because you can feel the energies of people. You can feel the energy of the planet. You can feel the energy of a certain neighbourhood that you're in. I mean, the energy here in Byron Bay, it's palpable. You can feel the energy in the air. We have to learn how to use these higher senses again. That's something that's very much missing in our culture. And that's very much what's led to the state of the planet at the moment. It's led to the state of the world that we see today. Because there are far more languages than what we actually perceive as languages, folks. There are far more languages than spoken language. But really, when you look at it, what you see is that modern Western language, modern spoken English, has basically been reduced to a language of symbolism. Only it's symbolism signified by sounds, but these sounds are duplicated by the written language. And the written language is most certainly a language of symbolism, because everything we do, we base on ink spots we put on pages, which are all simply symbols designed to convey a certain message and a certain consciousness into the people. There's been a lot of speculation from many sources as to whether the written word actually marked the beginning of the decline of human consciousness and decline of spiritual knowledge, because of the symbolism involved in the written word and the way the written word causes people to think only in language. So, of course, their understanding of reality is based entirely upon their understanding of the language. And so, therefore, it's very easy to manipulate the education system and essentially dumb down the species. And one may, in fact, put up quite a convincing argument to speculate that this is actually the case of what has happened, and that the decline of consciousness was, indeed, marked by the introduction of written language. So even when you look at the symbolism involved in written language, the nature of the structure of words, how you think when you are reading something rather than looking at a pictogram of something. You would think, well, we do this because the pictogram cannot convey the correct message. It cannot convey the full story. But what if it could? What if it could if you were thinking about it with your right brain and you were communicating and accessing the information contained within the pictogram with higher senses in your body? You see, that's the thing. The written language locks you out of these higher senses and locks you into a totally contrived language of symbolism. So basically you're even thinking in symbolism, because when you're thinking in modern Western language, you're thinking in symbolism. It's very, very bizarre, and it's designed, I believe, purposely to disconnect the mind from a lot of what's actually going on in reality around them. You see, because people are trained to think in language, the only understanding they have of reality is that which they can explain in words, and that which they can explain with language. And, of course, their entire understanding of what's even possible in reality and what reality is based on their understanding of the language, and if you find that most people have a reasonably cursory understanding of language, then they have a reasonably cursory understanding of the reality within which they inhabit. But again, folks, the real question becomes, what do we do about the situation that we're facing? How do we apply ourselves to the world in order to change the world? How can we stop the direction the ship of state is currently sailing in? Because the direction it's sailing in is ultimately leading to the destruction of the planet and all life upon the planet. Why are we allowing ourselves to be ruled by this fictional meme? And how can we break people out of the sleep, out of the trance that they're in? How can we change the paradigm? Now, these are the real problems that we're facing. It's all very well to point the finger at people, but what we need is a method of shifting the perspective of the people, shifting the overall paradigm of human consciousness, getting people to think outside of the box a little bit. Now, folks, I really look at this a lot, and I think about this a lot, and I look at it and I think, well, the reason people don't wake up is because they're trapped in fear. They're trapped in a state of fear-based mind control, mainly through the imposition of the money system upon the people, mainly by turning the human experience into commerce. This is the most effective tool that's been used to disconnect people from themselves and to keep people in this fear. And so this is why I stressed earlier on the importance of a gift-based culture, a gift-based society. And it always works, folks. It always works for me. I've been in situations where I've given to people and it's come back to me straight away. I've changed people's lives by giving to them. And people have certainly changed my life, and they've certainly helped me and get the message out to people through their gifts to me and by giving to me. Every donation that ever gets made to the website, folks, I've got stacks of DVDs here that I give out to people. I've got so much effort that I go to try to wake the community up. And it's all because of you people. It's all because of the gifting of people to the Crow House that's enabled me to keep doing these shows. Otherwise, I couldn't do it. I just simply wouldn't be able to afford to, and I'd be too busy trying to make ends meet and having to keep my nose on the grindstone. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm rich. I mean, I just scrape by the way I am, but at least I scrape by. It all just works out, and I am able to continue giving the message to people. We've got to get this gift-based culture happening. The property that I live on here, we've got a huge garden in the backyard now. A lot of people come and work on it, and it's all been gift-based. People gift seedlings. The seedlings get put in the ground. People gift the work to the gardens. The people who own the gardens gift the produce of the gardens back to the people. It's all gift-based. Nobody's trading money in any hands. It's all based on a communal spirit and a communal gathering of souls, and all working towards a better future. And that's what we need, because when we can embrace this gift mentality and this gift type of culture, we can remove the fear from people. They instantly let their guards down. They instantly snap out of that fear-based mind control, and they begin to see how the world could actually work, how things could actually run. And so that's what I mean by leading by example. You've got to be doing these things. This is where the solutions lie. And I've said, look, put in gardens. I've been saying this for years, and people may think, well, how is putting in a garden going to change the world? Well, it will, because it breaks down the barriers between you and the people around you, the people who come and participate in the garden. And when there's no money that changes hands, and when everybody's participating and everybody's reaping what they're sowing, all the barriers break down. Gardens are great tools for not only growing your own food, but also breaking down the barriers in your community, breaking down the barriers in the people that you feel you have barriers with and you feel you have division with, because most of it's manufactured. It's all flawed. It's all fiction. It's all based on yardsticks we're given to measure ourselves and measure our neighbours by. None of it's real. Everybody's valid. We're all valid. We're all in this together. And it's only because we're kept divided through the social structure that we're forced to live in that all of these problems exist and all of these problems persist. So we need to get over that. We really, really seriously need to get over it. We need to get over ourselves in many cases. Now, we're not all important. You know, you're not the most important thing in the world. You're not any more important than anybody else. But don't belittle yourself. Know that you are as important as anybody else. That's the thing, folks. In Lakesh, We're all in this together. And all we have to do is realize that, and we can change it. So that's how we change the system. That's how we change everything that's coming down the pipe. That's how we change the paradigm. We lead by example in everything that we do, and the world changes. It may be a slow process at first, but it will change. And we do have the power to do it, but first we have to discover who and what we are. So it always comes back to that.